The galaxy was loud with news. Every screen, every channel, every starship message repeated the same shocking headline. The first galactic beauty showdown announced. Humanity will judge. No one believed it at first. Billions of voices. Across the stars filled with laughter, shock, and even anger. To them, humans were a young race, new to space, small in number, and weak compared to the mighty alien empires. How could these strange little creatures be chosen as the final judges of beauty in the entire galaxy? But the news was true. The Galactic Council had spoken. From crystal worlds, desert empires, and ocean kingdoms, the most beautiful alien females would gather on a neutral space station. They would stand on a glowing stage, and at the very end, it would not be their own kind, not their rulers, not their scientists who decided the winner. It would be humans. Ordinary humans. The decision spread like wildfire. Some called it madness. Some called it an insult. Others whispered it was dangerous, maybe even a trap. Why humans? Why not the Arisari, whose eyes could see thousands of light patterns? Why not the Gelrians, who judged beauty by symmetry in bone and color? Why not the Kalari, who could measure attraction with their psychic touch? Yet, the council chose humans. Whispers grew into storms. In royal palaces, queens slammed their fists. In crystal towers, voices rang with outrage. Across battle fleets, commanders cursed the decision. One thing became clear. No one trusted humanity. And yet, curiosity burned brighter than anger. For centuries, aliens had struggled to agree on what beauty really was. Some adored size and power. Others treasured elegance and glow. Some worshipped sharp features. Others soft ones. But humans? They had a strange reputation. They saw beauty where no one else did. They praised not only smooth skin or shining eyes, but things no other race noticed. A scar, a laugh, a small gesture. They saw beauty in survival, in courage, in kindness. The galaxy wanted to know if this was true. The announcement was more than a contest. It was a test. Could humanity really define beauty for the stars? On Earth, people were stunned. Ordinary men and women stared at the broadcasts. We? Judge the galaxy? They asked. Politicians argued. Scientists shook their heads. Artists smiled. Some were afraid. What if the galaxy turned against them? Others were excited. What if this was their chance to prove humanity's worth? Soon, the stage was set. At the edge of neutral space, a massive station was prepared. It was larger than Earth's greatest cities, with glowing towers, floating platforms, and a grand arena lit by 1,000 suns. Here, the greatest beauty contest in history would unfold. Ships began to arrive. From the east spiral arm came the tall insectoid queens, their bodies shimmering with chitin-like living jewels. From the gas clouds came the winged avians, their feathers sparkling with living fire. From the ocean worlds came the silver-skinned sirens, voices like music that could melt stone. From the desert empires came the warrior princesses, tall and armored, their beauty sharp and fierce. Every empire sent their finest, their most stunning daughters. They came with pride, with confidence, with arrogance. Each one believed she would be crowned the most beautiful in the galaxy. Each one thought the humans would see her and bow, but not all came with pride. Hidden among them were quiet ones, those chosen not for fame, but because their people had no one else to send. A scarred widow, a dancer from a forgotten moon, a shy healer who had never left her village. They stood in the shadows, ignored by the powerful, mocked by the proud, and still, all of them waited for the humans. The day of the announcement arrived. The arena filled with millions of alien eyes. Screens lit across the galaxy. Trumpets of energy roared. The council speaker, a being of pure light, rose in the center. People of the galaxy, the voice echoed. Today begins the contest that will decide what beauty truly means. The greatest daughters of every world are here, and they will be judged, not by their own but by humanity. The crowd shook with noise. Some cheered, some booed, some simply waited with cold silence. And so, the voice continued, "Let the humans arrive." A single ship entered the arena. Compared to the great fleets, it was small, simple, nothing special. But when its doors opened, the galaxy gasped. For inside were not kings, not generals, not rich rulers. It was just ordinary humans, a farmer, a teacher, a nurse, a poet. Simple people, dressed in simple clothes, their faces curious, a little nervous but also calm. The aliens stared in disbelief. These were the judges of the galaxy's greatest beauty? And so the stage was set. The galaxy waited. The contestants stood tall. The humans walked forward. And across the stars, billions leaned closer to their screens, holding their breath. The contest of beauty, the battle of pride, the test of humanity, had just begun. The space station glowed like a jewel against the endless black. Thousands of lights blinked, ships came and went, and every corridor buzzed with life. It was no longer just a contest. It had become the center of the galaxy. Every empire had sent their proudest daughters, each one believing she was destined to be crowned the most beautiful of all. When the first ship docked, silence fell. Out stepped the insectoid queens of Zelthar. Their tall frames shimmered under the lights, their exoskeletons glowing in deep emerald and gold. They moved with grace, each step calculated, their long antennae twitching like silver strings. To their people, they were living art, symbols of strength and elegance. One queen sneered at the cameras, her mandibles clicking. "Humans will faint when they see us," she said coldly. But the next arrival proved very different. From the burning skies of Arvin came the avian dancers. They glided down the ramp with wings stretched wide, feathers glowing in shifting shades of crimson, sapphire, and violet. Their eyes sparkled like twin suns. Their voices were soft melodies, each word sounding like a song. Crowds gasped at their beauty, children in the audience pointing with awe. Then came the ocean sirens of Nareen. They floated above the floor, as if water still carried them, their silver blue skin glowing with faint light. Their hair flowed like liquid, their voices a whisper that seemed to echo in the soul. One smiled, and the audience sighed as if enchanted. The sirens were dangerous. They had been banned from contests before, accused of using their songs to control hearts. Yet here they were, ready to prove their charm. The dock trembled as another massive ship landed. From its gates marched the desert princesses of Koran. They wore armor plated with gold, their faces sharp, proud, and fierce. Tall and strong, they carried weapons even on this peaceful stage. Every step they took echoed like thunder. They believed beauty was strength, and they meant to show it. The crowd roared. Already the galaxy was divided. Some shouted for the insect queens, others for the avians, many for the sirens, and a few for the desert warriors. Everyone had a favorite. But the arrivals did not end there. More ships docked, crystal women from icy worlds, their bodies like living diamonds. Flame-skinned dancers from volcanic moons leaving sparks in their wake. Tiny winged fae from lush planets, glowing softly like lanterns. Giantesses from the outer rims, each step shaking the platform. The arena became a storm of color, sound, and pride. Every arrival raised the tension higher. Rivalries formed before the contest even began. Avian dancers sneered at the insect queens. The desert princesses mocked the sirens, calling them water illusions. Crystals ignored everyone, claiming no one could match their glow. But not all arrivals were filled with glory. At the far end of the dock, a small, rusted ship landed quietly. Few turned their heads. From it stepped a widow of the Myran people, her robes plain, her face scarred from an old war. She did not glow, she did not shine, she did not sing. She walked with lowered eyes, holding her breath, as if the crowd's gaze crushed her. Some aliens laughed at her, whispering, "Why is she here? She looks broken." Others ignored her completely. Yet, in the shadows, the human judges watched. The farmer noticed her tired hands. The nurse saw the pain in her eyes. The poet whispered, She carries a story. And so the rivals had arrived. Inside the great arena, they stood together in lines side by side, waiting for the contest to begin. Cameras hovered, broadcasting every detail across the stars. The stage was a battlefield, but not one of swords or fire. This battlefield was pride, confidence, and beauty. The insect queens stood tall, their mandibles glinting. The avians stretched, their wings, feathers shimmering. The sirens hummed softly, their voices tempting. The desert princesses crossed their arms, daring anyone to challenge them. And in the far corner, the widow lowered her head, ignored, forgotten, yet present. The air grew heavy. Millions of eyes from every corner of the galaxy stared at the screen. Everyone had one question in their hearts. Who would win? Who would humans call the most beautiful? But the aliens did not understand humans. Not yet. They thought humans would look at height, at glow, at feathers, at shine. They thought humans would be impressed by songs and armor. They thought humans were weak, simple, and foolish. None of them expected what was coming. As the lights dimmed, a voice echoed through the arena. The rivals have arrived. The contest begins tomorrow. Let the galaxy witness truth. The crowd erupted in cheers and shouts. Ships fired light into the skies, banners waved, and empires sang their own praises. But in the hearts of the human judges, silence remained. They knew this would not be easy. They knew every choice would carry weight, perhaps even spark war. And yet deep inside, each human felt something stirring. Excitement, yes, but also responsibility. For the galaxy had given them the power to decide, and their decision would change everything. The rivals had arrived. The stage was set, and the greatest beauty battle in history was about to begin. The arena was silent. The lights dimmed, then burst into brilliance, painting the massive hall with colors brighter than 100 suns. Billions of eyes across the galaxy stared at their screens, waiting for the contest to begin. The rivals had arrived, proud and powerful, each believing she would be crowned the most beautiful in the galaxy. Now the humans would judge them. The contestants stood tall in their lines, glittering crystal women, shining sirens, feathered, avians, armored desert princesses, and insectoid queens. They posed with pride, expecting gasps of admiration, expecting humans to fall at their feet. But the humans did not gasp. They looked differently. The farmer leaned forward, his rough hands folded together. He did not stare at the glowing lights or shimmering feathers. Instead, he noticed how the desert princess's hand shook slightly when she thought no one was watching. He saw the nervous breath of the youngest avian dancer, her chest rising too fast. The teacher, with calm eyes, observed carefully. She smiled when she saw the sirens whispering among themselves, but she frowned when their smiles seemed forced, their eyes filled with hidden pain. The nurse noticed details no one else cared about. A scar on an insect queen's arm, hidden under a layer of glowing armor. A faint limp in one contestant's step. A cough, quickly silenced, as though the contestant feared looking weak. And the poet, he saw things even deeper. He whispered, to himself, "Her beauty is not in the glow. It's in the story behind her eyes." The aliens shifted uncomfortably. They had expected admiration, awe, applause, but the humans were quiet, thoughtful, and serious. The first contestant walked forward. She was an avian dancer, feathers blazing in brilliant colors. She stretched her wings wide, spinning gracefully in the air, her body glowing like living fire. The crowd gasped, and many cheered. But when the humans were asked for their thoughts, the farmer tilted his head. "She is skilled, very skilled," he said, "but her eyes look tired. She dances beautifully, but it feels like she dances for survival, not joy." The crowd froze. The avian's feathers trembled. Never had anyone spoken of her eyes, her spirit. Judges in the past always praised her wings, her glow, her performance, but humans saw something else, something deeper. The next contestant, a desert princess, walked proudly. She wore golden armor, her long blade at her side. She lifted her chin high and spoke in a strong voice. "I am beauty and strength," she declared. The humans listened. The teacher nodded politely, then said softly, "Your strength is clear, but I think your beauty is not only in the blade. It is in the way you protect your sisters. You speak of yourself, but I see the loyalty in your eyes." The desert princess blinked. No one had ever told her that. Her people only saw her as a warrior, a blade of gold. But these humans, they noticed her loyalty, something even she had never thought important. Then came the sirens. They floated gracefully, voices humming with dangerous sweetness. The sound pulled at hearts, making the crowd sigh dreamily. One siren sang louder, her silver hair flowing, her body glowing. The nurse leaned closer, her eyes soft. "She is beautiful, yes," she said gently, "but I see fear in her song. She sings to be chosen, not because she loves to sing." The siren's voice faltered. The crowd gasped. The siren looked at the humans in shock, her lips trembling. It was true. She had always been forced to sing, always told her worth was in her voice. No one had ever seen the fear behind it. Until now. One by one, the contestants came forward. And one by one, the humans spoke not of feathers or glow or armor, but of things unseen. They praised courage over charm. They admired kindness in the way one alien helped another adjust her dress. They spoke of patience when one contestant waited quietly for her turn instead of demanding attention. The crowd shifted uneasily. Murmurs spread like fire. This was not how beauty contests were judged. This was strange. This was human. At last, the widow stepped forward. She did not glow, she did not shine. She simply walked, head lowered, her robe plain. The crowd laughed. Some booed. Others shouted insults. But the humans leaned forward. The poet whispered, "Her beauty is not in her face or her scars. It is in her survival. She carries pain, but she still stands." The farmer nodded. "Her hands are worn, but they are hands that worked, that fought, that lived." The nurse's voice shook. "Her scars tell a story no glow can tell." The teacher smiled warmly. "She may not know it, but her presence here is already proof of beauty." The crowd fell silent. For the first time, the widow looked up. Her eyes met the humans. And for the first time in years, she felt seen, not as broken, not as weak, not as ugly, but as alive. The aliens were stunned. The strongest, the brightest, the most glowing had been praised before, but never had a scarred widow, forgotten and ignored, been called beautiful. Whispers filled the arena. Some voices angry, others curious, others deeply moved. And so it became clear, the humans did not see beauty like others. They looked beyond the surface, beyond the glow, beyond the armor. They saw hearts. They saw pain. They saw courage. The galaxy began to tremble with unease. If this was how humans judged, then the entire contest would change. Pride was at risk. Empires were at risk. But the humans remained calm, their eyes clear, their voices steady. The contest had only just begun, and already, humanity's unexpected eye was rewriting the meaning of beauty. The arena had changed. The moment the humans spoke, the entire atmosphere shifted. The galaxy had expected praises for wings, glowing skin, shining crystals, and perfect shapes. But the humans had seen something else. They spoke of scars, courage, loyalty, and fear. They praised not the body, but the soul. The crowd did not know how to react. Some were silent, confused, others shouted angrily. A desert warrior hissed, "How dare they ignore my blade?" A siren whispered in tears, "They saw my fear." And the widow, once invisible, now felt every eye on her. The truth was dangerous. The second round of the contest began. This time, the rivals were asked to show their talents. their unique gifts, each one prepared to shine brighter than before, determined to prove humans wrong. The insect queens stepped forward first. They danced in perfect harmony, their limbs moving in sharp and complex patterns, their chitin glowing like molten jewels. The galaxy cheered. It was beauty in order, symmetry, and strength. But when the humans were asked for their judgment, the farmer only said, "Impressive, but too perfect." Beauty is not always in order. Sometimes it is in mistakes, in little flaws that make us unique. The insect queens froze. Never in their history had someone dared to call imperfection beautiful. Their pride cracked like glass. Next came the avian dancers. They spread their wings and released a storm of colors, feathers falling like burning snow. Their voices rang in the air, sharp and flawless. The crowd gasped in awe, but the teacher tilted her head. "Your performance is strong, but I find beauty in the smallest one at the back, who still sings though her voice trembles. She reminds me of a student who tries even when afraid." The smallest avian gasped, her feathers shaking. She had always been mocked by her sisters for being weak, for being nervous. Yet here, a human had seen her effort and called it beautiful. The avian leader glared at her, filled with fury. Then the sirens performed. Their song rolled across the arena, sweet and powerful. Many in the audience fell into a trance, smiling like children. The sound was flawless, every note perfect. But the nurse's eyes filled with tears. "It is beautiful," she admitted, "but I feel sadness in it. True beauty is not in forcing others to love you. It is in singing freely, for joy, not for power." The sirens fell silent. Their queen clenched her fists. No one had ever dared accuse them of control. No one had ever seen the sadness in their songs. The desert princesses came next. They raised their golden blades high, performing a warrior's dance, fierce and full of fire. Sparks filled the air as swords clashed, and the audience roared in excitement. But the poet's voice cut through the noise. "Your power is clear, your moves sharp. Yet I see greater beauty in the moment you lower your blade and smile. It is in peace, not war, that your beauty shines brightest." The princess stopped mid-step, her sword trembling. For years she had been told beauty was in battle, in victory, in strength. Yet a human saw it in her gentleness, a side she had hidden all her life. The rivals were shaken. The widow's turn came last. She did not sing, did not dance, did not shine. She simply stepped forward and raised her hands. "I have no talent," she said, her voice weak but steady. "I only survived. I only lived when I should have died." The crowd laughed cruelly. "Pathetic," one shouted. "Unworthy," cried another. But the humans stood. The nurse spoke with fire. "Your survival is a greater talent than any song or dance. You lived when others would have given up. That is beauty." The poet added, "Every scar is proof of strength. You are not weak. You are proof that beauty can rise from ashes." The arena fell silent. And in that silence, the truth spread like a storm. Humans were not judging the way others judged. They did not care for glitter or perfection or sharpness. They cared for stories, for hearts, for struggles. This truth shocked the galaxy. I insulted the proud. The insect queens hissed in rage. The avians whispered angrily. The sirens gnashed their teeth. The desert warriors clenched their fists. "Are they blind?" one alien shouted. "Do they call scars more beautiful than perfection?" Another screamed. But among the contestants, something else began to grow. The smallest avian, the trembling siren, the scarred widow, all of them felt hope for the first time. For the first time, someone had seen their worth. The council members shifted nervously. The contest was no longer safe. Humanity's way of seeing beauty was rewriting the rules, and rewriting them in front of the entire galaxy. Pride was cracking. Empires were trembling. As the round ended, the humans remained calm. They wrote their notes, their faces serious. They did not shout, did not argue, did not boast. They simply spoke their truth. And the galaxy, for the first time, saw that truth. Beauty was not what they thought it was. Beauty was not just light or strength or perfection. Beauty was survival. Beauty was kindness. Beauty was courage. The shock of truth spread like fire, and no matter how hard the proud empires tried, they could not put that fire out. The truth had struck the galaxy like lightning. The humans had spoken, and their words still echoed in every corner of the arena. They had praised scars over jewels, courage over wings, survival over perfect songs. For some it was beautiful, for others it was an unforgivable insult. The insect queens whispered angrily among themselves, their mandibles clicking with fury. They called us too perfect. Too perfect. What kind of insult is this? The avian leaders hissed, glaring at the smallest of their sisters who had been noticed by the humans. She is weak, one spat. Her trembling is not beauty, it is shame. But deep in the young avian's heart, a spark of hope had been born. The sirens gritted their teeth. For centuries, their songs had bent the galaxy to their will. Now humans had unmasked the sadness behind the melody. They dare expose us before all, their queen whispered. We will not forgive this. The desert princesses were no different. Their blades had always been symbols of pride. But humans had dared to say their greatest beauty was not in war but in peace. For them, this was humiliation. And yet, while anger spread among the proud, something else stirred among the forgotten. The scarred widow, who had once hidden in the shadows, now walked with a little more strength. The smallest avian stood straighter. Even a siren with a trembling voice dared to hum softly to herself. The humans had planted a seed. But anger, jealousy, and pride grew faster than hope. The grand hall filled with whispers, shouts, and sharp arguments. Emperors and kings, watching from their balconies, slammed their fists. This is madness, one bellowed. Humans twist beauty into weakness, another cried. The crowd split into factions, some cheering for humanity's wisdom, others demanding the contest be stopped. The Council of Light struggled to keep order. Silence, the speaker cried, its glowing body pulsing with energy. The contest will continue. Humanity has been chosen, and humanity will judge. But silence did not last. Rumors began to spread through the station. Some said alien leaders were plotting to end the contest by force. Others claimed fleets were readying weapons, waiting for the smallest insult to ignite war. The neutral space station, meant for peace, now trembled with the weight of tension. The contestants felt the pressure. Every glance was sharper, every breath heavier. Some alien women glared at the humans, their eyes burning with hatred. Others looked at them with quiet curiosity, wondering what more they might see. That night, the human judges gathered in their chamber. The farmer sat with arms crossed, troubled. I don't like this, he muttered. They're angry. If we keep speaking our truth, they might start a war. The teacher shook her head. We cannot lie. If we pretend, then what is the point of judging? The galaxy must hear the truth, even if it hurts. The nurse spoke softly. But what if they attack us? We are only ordinary people, not soldiers. The poet looked out the window at the endless stars. His voice was calm, but firm. We came here not to show power, but to show humanity. If war comes, it is not because of our words. It is because the galaxy is afraid of the truth, and truth once spoken cannot be silenced. Meanwhile, in another chamber, the rival contestants whispered in the dark. The insect queens plotted to disgrace the humans in the next round. We will overwhelm them with perfection until they cannot deny us. The sirens whispered of singing so powerfully that humans themselves would fall to their knees. Let them feel what it means to challenge us. The desert princesses sharpened, their blades, their leader vowing, if they insult us again, we will end this contest with steel. And in the shadows, the widow listened. She said nothing, but for the first time, she felt something burning inside her. Not fear, not shame, but pride, because someone had seen her. The day of the next round approached, and the station shook with restless energy. Outside, fleets gathered, their massive ships circling like predators in the dark. Inside, guards stood taller, weapons ready. The council begged for calm, but calm was fading fast. In the arena, the rivals stood ready once again. Lights blazed, banners waved, and voices shouted across the hall. But this time, there was no playful cheer. The air was heavy, full, of suspicion, anger, and jealousy. As the humans entered, millions of eyes followed them with burning intensity. Some wanted them gone, others wanted them silenced forever. The farmer felt the weight of the stares. The teacher felt the tension in the air. The nurse's heart beat faster. And the poet whispered, "The storm has begun." The speaker of the council raised its glowing hand. The next round begins now, and so the stage was set. The galaxy was no longer simply curious. Now it was angry, divided, and dangerous. Humanity's judgment had shaken the foundations of pride, and the rivals were ready to fight not only for beauty, but for the honor of their empires. The contest was about to turn from a stage of grace into a battlefield of pride, and in the hearts of all who watched, one truth was clear. The next choice the humans made could ignite a war. The arena shook with noise. Millions of voices screamed from the stands, ships outside buzzed with energy, and the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The contest had turned into a storm of anger and pride. Humanity's strange way of judging had insulted the mighty and lifted the forgotten. Now everything came down to this, the final choice. The contestants stood in a great circle under the blazing lights. Each one was ready to prove herself one last time. The insect queens towered proudly, their jeweled bodies shining. The avian dancers spread their brilliant wings, filling the air with colors. The sirens floated in silver light, their voices humming low, ready to unleash their song. The desert princesses stood tall, swords at their sides, armor glowing. And in the far corner, half hidden in the shadows, stood the scarred widow. Her head bowed, her hands trembling. The speaker of the council raised its glowing hand. "The final round begins," it declared. "Show the galaxy not what you are, but who you are." The crowd roared. The rivals stepped forward one by one. The insect queen moved first. She raised her arms and split her exoskeleton open, revealing glowing patterns within, shapes of incredible symmetry. "This is perfection," she cried, her voice sharp. "No flaw, no scar, only beauty and form." The audience gasped in awe, but the humans remained silent. Then came the avian dancer. She leaped into the air, wings shining with burning color. She spun higher and higher, scattering feathers like flames. The galaxy cheered, enchanted by her grace. But when she landed, her eyes darted nervously at the humans, searching for their reaction. Next, the sirens stepped forward together. Their voices rose, weaving into a powerful song that shook the air. The melody touched hearts, pulled at minds, made many cry. The song ended in perfect harmony and the crowd erupted, but the humans only looked thoughtful. The desert princess strode into the center. She lifted her golden blade and slammed it into the ground. Sparks rose as she shouted, "I am beauty and strength. I am fire. I am power. Look upon me and know greatness." Her voice rang with fury and many warriors in the stands cheered. Finally, all eyes turned to the widow. She froze under the burning lights. She had no wings, no jewels, no song, no blade, only scars, only pain. For a moment, she almost stepped back, almost gave up. But then she remembered the human's words. "Your survival is beauty. Your scars are proof of strength." Her hands stopped trembling. She lifted her head. "I have nothing to give you," she said softly, her voice trembling but clear. "No glow, no power, no song. Only this. I lived when my people died. I carried grief, I carried scars, but I am still here. My beauty is not perfection, it is survival." The arena went silent. The insect queens hissed in anger. The sirens sneered. The desert princess spat in disgust. "Pathetic!" one alien shouted from the crowd. "She is weak. another cried, but the humans stood together. The farmer's voice was firm. She is beauty. She shows us what it means to endure. The teacher nodded. She is beauty. She carries lessons of loss and hope. The nurse's eyes filled with tears. She is beauty. She proves life can bloom even from pain. The poet raised his hand, his voice steady and strong. She is beauty, because beauty is not in perfection, it is in the soul. The council speaker looked at the humans. You must choose. The humans turned to one another. Their faces were heavy with the weight of the galaxy. If they chose the queens, the galaxy would cheer, but nothing would change. If they chose the sirens, the old power would remain. If they chose the warriors, violence would rise. But if they chose the widow, the galaxy itself might split. Still, their hearts were decided. The poet spoke first. We choose the widow. The farmer added, she carries the truest beauty. The nurse whispered, her scars shine brighter than jewels. The teacher finished. Our final choice is her. The speaker's voice boomed across the arena. Humanity has chosen. The most beautiful in the galaxy is the widow. The arena exploded. Some screamed in rage, others in shock, others in disbelief. Fleets outside readied their weapons, commanders shouting orders, empires cried foul, calling it an insult, a humiliation. But in the center of the storm, the widow fell to her knees. Tears poured down her scarred face. For years she had been forgotten, mocked, cast aside. And now, the humans had lifted her higher than anyone had ever dreamed. The galaxy trembled. The choice had been made. And now, the universe itself would have to face the truth. The arena shook as the speaker's words echoed through the galaxy. The most beautiful is the widow. At first there was silence, a deep, heavy silence that spread through the crowd like a shadow. Then like thunder the universe erupted. From the balconies alien rulers roared in anger. The insect queens hissed, their jeweled bodies clashing against one another. This is a lie. Humans are blind, they cried. The avian dancers screamed, feathers falling in rage. The sirens shouted in fury, their voices cutting like knives. The desert princesses slammed their swords against the ground, sparks rising as they cursed the humans. The galaxy had expected perfection to win. Instead, the crown of beauty had gone to a scarred widow who carried no glow, no wings, no blade, no song. To many it was unthinkable, but in the far corner of the arena, a miracle was happening. The widow, who once walked with bowed head, now stood tall. Tears streamed down her face, but her back was straight, her eyes burning with light for the first time in years. She looked at the humans, her voice breaking. You saw me, when no one else did. You saw me. The farmer gave her a nod, steady and calm. The nurse smiled through her own tears. The teacher placed a hand on her chest as if to say, we honor you. And the poet whispered, your story is ours now. The audience was torn apart. Some jeered, demanding the contest end in fire. Others sat stunned, unable to deny the raw truth of what they had seen. And a few, just a few, felt something shift inside them. For the first time, they wondered if humans were right. Whispers spread. Beauty is not only in glow, said one. Maybe it is in courage. Maybe in kindness. Maybe in survival. These voices were quiet at first, drowned by the shouts of anger. But they were there. And they were growing. The empires, however, were not ready to accept such a truth. Outside the station, fleets prepared weapons. The insect queens called their armies to strike. The sirens promised vengeance. The desert princesses vowed war. Inside the arena, the Council of Light flared brighter, its voice urgent. Calm yourselves. The humans have judged. The contest is over. But the crowd would not calm. A single spark could turn the entire station into a battlefield. The widow looked at the chaos, her heart pounding. For so long she had been silent. But now, chosen as the most beautiful, She found her voice. She stepped forward, raising her scarred hands high. "Stop," she cried. Her voice echoed, trembling but strong. "Do you not see? This is not about crowns or power or pride. This is about truth. And the truth is this. Beauty is not what you demand others to see. Beauty is what lives inside you, even when the world tries to break you." The arena stilled. Even the angriest voices faltered, caught by the force of her words. She turned toward the humans. "They saw me when none of you would. They gave me back what I lost, my worth. And if that is not beauty, then what is?" Her words spread through the galaxy like fire. Across millions of screens, billions of people watched, silent and wide-eyed. Some wept, some clenched their fists, some for the first time understood. The Speaker of the Council lifted its glowing arms. "The humans have spoken. The widow has spoken. And the galaxy must listen. Beauty is not one face. Beauty is many faces. And today, humanity has shown us what we refused to see." The fleets outside hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. Others turned their ships away, unwilling to fight a war over a crown. Slowly, the storm began to ease. In the arena, the widow bowed to the humans, her tears falling onto the glowing floor. "You gave me back my life," she whispered. The farmer placed his hand over his heart. The nurse nodded gently. The teacher's eyes softened with pride. And the poet, with a smile, said, "No, we only reminded you of what was always there." And so, the contest ended. But its echo spread far beyond that day. In the years to come, songs were written of the widow's courage. Statues were built, of her standing tall, scars visible, head lifted high. And across the galaxy, a new idea began to grow. An idea planted by humanity. That beauty was not only light or perfection or power. It was also pain and survival and kindness. It was in scars as much as in jewels, in silence as much as in song. The galaxy never forgot the day humanity judged. Some still hated them for it, some still mocked them, but many learned to see differently. And in that moment, the human race was no longer weak, no longer new, no longer ignored. They had changed the meaning of beauty forever, and at the heart of it all stood the widow, once forgotten, now eternal.